Yeah. What's up, everybody? Of course, you're going to call now, Aaron. What's up? All right. I wasn't sure if I was going to go live tonight. Sorry, I'm dealing with this microphone. I haven't been comfortable with this microphone, so I wanna be able to deal with my screen and not have to look up. So, anyways, uh, yeah, yeah, Aaron, I went live. So, anyways, oh, I gotta turn this down. All right, we so let's go back. So I didn't know if I was going to go live this morning, but I decided I was going to, and I want to talk about something that happened to me yesterday when I was calling on a load, because I think that I think it's a good lesson. Because I was talking to one of my drivers about it. He's like, "Wow, I've never thought of doing that." And this is part of the negotiating game. Okay, this is a part of that, right? So there's negotiations, and there's selling, and there's it's crazy, right? And if I ever have to go back full time to the truck and dispatch myself, I've learned so much by dispatching different platforms and different drivers in different areas. I'm gaining a lot of experience doing this. This is great. And I'm learning what works, what doesn't work. So we'll do some shout outs, then we'll talk about negotiating, because that seems to be a hot topic of, Steve, okay, I get it. You need to negotiate, but how do you negotiate? You need to go live with the broker and show us how you do it. And well, I mean, you can't do that, right? Because that could burn some business bridges. Imagine, you're the CH guy that's helped, the carrier out quite a bit, and then next thing you know, you find out that you've been live on YouTube without your permission. That, whether it's legal or not, doesn't matter. Will that sit well with that person? So I don't do that. Now, I know that other YouTubers have, but at the same time, being able to read the room and feel out somebody, I think is a huge skill. The gift of discernment, right? When someone answers the phone, I almost kind of know right away whether this is going to go good or bad or indifferent. That's kind of how I look at it. So, anyways, we'll do our shout outs, and then we'll get to talking about negotiations. So, all right. Um, do. We got a few people in here. Sterling, good morning. You're the first one in here. Don Shonger, what's up? Max Force, good morning. Hot seat, bring it. What am I bringing? Is it a potluck? Big Houston, what's up? Red Diesel, yo. Desert Okie Pam, how are things going for you in the out there? Mr. Charles, good morning. Old school, new school, rolling past Edgewood, New Mexico. It's been a minute since I've been out there. I miss the desert. Pigtail, what's up? Shayna, how's it going? Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Wheel Burner Express, good morning. Russell Freight Services, got surgery tomorrow for my mouth. Well, prayers to you, Russell. Hopefully everything will be okay, and you'll be up and at 'em before long. Ratman says morning from El Piso, Texas. Yeah, that's what the petrol smells like when you're there, right? Greg Zimmer, good morning. Shannon, good morning, everyone. I'm assuming you're at the dock there, Mr. Zimmer. Wheelburner Express, good morning. Already said morning to him. Now he's saying hi to Shannon. Jose, what's up? TBT morning from I-80 westbound, Colfax, Iowa, heading to California, dude. Watch the weather going through there. Clyde, good morning. So let me tell you a story of what happened. And by the way, there will be no opening of the door for a cat because one of the cats is at the vet hanging out there, and the other cat we still won't let outside. Well, thank you, Shanna. Shayna, sorry. Thank you. Same to you. Right back at you. Got my Iron Maiden mug. Yeah, Wicker Man. No, don't spill it all over my keyboard. All right, so let me see if I can find the screenshot here. So with having two phones, a lot of times what I'm doing is I'll take a picture with one phone and call on the load, so I have it right there in front of me. Also got a calculator handy so I can do some math on the fly because math is important. It's hard, but it's important. Trying to remember which load it was. That's what it was. So there's a load going from St. Louis to Columbia, Missouri, only 125 loaded miles. Now the lane value, the 15-day average was 605. Well, that's not worth that, especially with the deadhead this guy had. But it can be a good load. Now, there's two things in the dry van world that come out of St. Louis. One is Pepsi, and one is beer. Beer loads, I knew that wasn't a beer load because that pays a little bit better. You can spill the coffee, but don't hurt that mug. I got this mug at the Cuba, Missouri truck stop. That's now a TA. That's where I got this at years ago. Back when, I mean, it's for the Wicker Man, right? It's for the Wicker Man. I can't see it. So, are you coming to Los Angeles for 2 nights of Metallica? I heard that those seats are like thousands upon thousands of dollars, LBC. So I don't know, but I did see that Pantera was touring with them. So that's so all these Metallica haters that want to see a new Pantera, they're just gonna have to suffer. So, anyways, so I called on this load. The guy's like, he sounded fairly pleasant. I was like, hey, good morning. I'm looking at your load picking up in St. Louis today, going to Columbia, Missouri. He's like, oh yeah, it's a load of beverages going to da 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 da, all the details. And I'm like, is that beer or Pepsi? Right away, telling him that I kind of know this lane. I know what the product possibly could be. He's like, oh, it's Pepsi. I can get you a 6 p.m. appointment. I'm like, all right, cool. So I try to let them set the acre first. And it and mind you that posted rate was $700. The 15-day on it, mind you, they're above the 15-day. And they've posted a rate. This is where I get them, though. This is why some brokers will not post the rates. Ready? Here's what I did. So I was like, oh, those times will work. Yeah, I need to be around, 900. He's like, oh, yeah. I said that's kind of my daily rate. That's where the driver wants to be at, and if we can make that happen, man, I can't do that. We've only got, my rate's 650. I'm like, well, you've got it. You've got the posting, so we talk about that a little bit. And I was like, well, you've got it posted for 700 because he goes, well, 605 is all I got in it. So I'm taking a loss at 650. I'm like, oh, well, you've got it posted for 7 on the DAP board. And I can hear him. I can literally hear him go, oh, shit. And he goes, well, I guess they obviously want it moved, so I can do the 700. I said, no. I said, I tell you what, I'll come down to 800. because it's a later pickup, so who knows what we're going to get tomorrow. And he's like, hold on. Yeah, we're going to take a loss on this. So yeah, here you go. Got it for 800. Now, it's going to pick up at 6:00, deliver the next morning, 125 miles. So that gives you time to do something for today. Well, it delivers today. So that's the short game. That's how that was what this person wanted. That was how I was dispatching them. But see, that's the thing, though. Everybody talks about broker transparency. Well, they're using that emotion against you when they sit there and say, well, 605 is all I got in it. Okay. That, so now, how many of you last year, when the broker said, this is all I got in it, you said, okay, and you still didn't care, and you went above like $200, $300, $400 above what they have in it? Okay. Well, when you probably didn't, care that they were taking a loss. Has that ever worked on you? Has it even? Oh man, I feel really sorry for this dude I'm on the phone with that I've never met, who's taken a profit loss. Oh man, I should go ahead and do this load for $200 less than the 15-day. No, if you are doing that, then you're probably leaving money on the table because it's business, right? Which is the same reason why when you tell them, hey, my fuel cost is X amount, or fuel is up X amount, they don't care. Are they aware that fuel's up? Yes. But at the same token, they're aware when fuel comes down so they can lower the rates. So using this whole fuel is up, fuel is down kind of thing, that does not work. That's why this broker transparency thing, they'll pretend to be transparent with you by selling you how much they're taking a loss at. But I mean, if we're interested in other people's loss, they wouldn't be trying to move a load for $1 a mile out of Florida, right? So when you calculate your costs, what price you need to be at a certain lane, you just tell them, hey, my minimum rate per day is this. I need to be at least at this rate per mile. That's my sweet spot. And then act like you're working below or over what you're doing. So in other words, if you go, well, like for example, I've heard some brokers say, well, you just asked for $1,000 over the average. Is there a reason why you're asking for that? And you go, well, because I want it. No, that doesn't work. You got to go, well, I noticed some bad weather coming in, and there's it's kind of a dead area right now. My low board is showing only 20 loads coming out of the area, so I really need to get that going in. And then educate them. Maybe it's some new schleppy that just came out of college that doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't know anything about the trucking industry, but someone made them an agent's helper. They're the ones answering the phone. Maybe you should educate them, but do it in a nice, polite. Hey, well, I'm looking at this load going from St. Louis to Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and you wheel and deal, and they say, well, and if they go, well, how do you justify your rate? It's like, well, fuel is about close to $6 a gallon up there, and tolls are pretty high, so I have to have a higher rate to go up there. If you can't meet that, that's cool. I'll just move on. And so the good news of that, see, I just self contradicted myself, right? Because you brought up fuel, I brought up fuel, I brought up the tolls, right? So that's where knowing the broker really comes in handy. If the broker understands, well, it's a higher rate because of the expenses of running this lane, I need to be at a higher rate. Because they're looking, look, some brokers are looking for the cheapest truck that doesn't know what they're doing, that doesn't realize there's $200 worth of tolls on that run. And they don't, and the driver that doesn't realize the cost of the fuel as well. I had a buddy of mine years ago. He told me a story of that, how he did a brokered load up to the Northeast. Thought he was getting a good rate. And then at the end of the trip, and the broker immediately accepted the rate. He didn't know how to price the lane. And as soon as he was done with the load, he looked at his money, and he took a huge loss on that load because he didn't quote it high enough. Just like if if a contractor comes in and says, hey, I'll do your roof for X amount, he's got to quote accordingly, or else he'll take a loss. And so you have to know the value of the lane that you're in. And that's part of the negotiation tactic. So when the broker says, that's all I got in it, don't let that fool you. Because look, I was talking to CDN yesterday, and there are times when that's true. I've seen it. I've seen paperwork that drivers probably shouldn't have seen. And sometimes that is all they've got in it. But for every load, just like you, the driver, for every load that they take a loss, there's a load that they have really good gains. But we're so focused on single stories, like, oh, I heard brokers were taking 40%. Well, maybe on particular loads they were, but for the most part, there are some that are just after their commission. Sometimes it's a broker just wanting to keep his commission because he knows he's not going to sell anything else for the rest of the week. And that's why it's important to understand the rest of the story, the other side. If you're again, I'm going to go with a football analogy. If you're playing a football team, you want to know their strategies. You want to know what's going on that side. I mean, you've seen the coaches, they'll cover their mouths when they're calling plays because of the cameras, because they don't want anybody to know what's going on. They don't want anybody stealing their tactics. And so there's 1,000 different ways to negotiate a load. And it's kind of satisfying when I throw them a curveball that makes them go. I was on the phone with TQL one day, and I kind of threw their own language back at this person to the point that he had to get a supervisor. He's like, let me check with my supervisor. Supervisor come on and said, yeah, dude, we're at 900. We can't do that. And you could tell he was a matter of fact. I don't care. And and there was a couple, and that's the other thing. So with these layoffs, there's rehires, and there's people that are still new to this industry on the broker side, and I can always tell when I'm talking to one of them. And that was what this story was. This guy didn't realize that the DAT board had posted a load for 700 on a lane that historically is paid 600, but I got my 800 because of the way I was able to negotiate and talk, and caught him, either in the fib or, I have to give the dude credit. He rescued it. He was like, well, I guess obviously they want this load moved. Now, with that comment right there, I knew I had him. They're going to take my offer or leave it. And I became firm. There's a point where you're like, maybe I'll come down. No, there's a point where I'm like, firm, that's it. No negotiating past this point. And so he made two mistakes. The first mistake was not realizing that someone had posted it for 700. So you might have a room full of agents, and some of them are posting, and one will post a rate, one won't. I've literally seen TQL do that. TQL will post a load 5 times, and they'll have a poster rate of 1,500, then 1,400, then 1,300, then 1,000, then 1,500, and then nothing. And so when I see that, that means that's multiple agents, and I've actually gotten a better rate. I've called on a load, couldn't get the rate I wanted, hung up. 5 minutes later, call again, got a different agent, and got a better rate. So it's also about volume, right? If you have an agent that's got a lot of volume and he understands he only needs to make X amount for each load, like the Peterbilt Steve of brokers. Peterbilt Steve, if you guys aren't familiar, he'd rather sell you on volume. So his Peterbilts are generally cheaper than everybody else if you want a custom Pete. And the trick is finding that agent. I have a couple of brokers that are like that. They'll they're not wanting to have a full commission every single time. They'd rather just keep the loads moving and work off of volume. But this broker made 2 mistakes. The first mistake was he didn't realize that someone had posted the rate. And the second mistake was telling me, well, I guess they need this load move pretty good, pretty hot. Like, yeah. I saw blood and I took it. And I enjoy these games. There are people in the spot market right now that don't enjoy the games. They don't feel satisfaction after they've called 30 people and finally booked a load. And you have to like the game. So that's the big part of it. Let's do some comments here. Always have a good headset when talking to a broker so you can listen to their voice carefully. Yeah, don't put them on speakerphone. Just like certain lanes dry up, certain negotiation tactics or techniques that have been tried and true can stop working. And that's a great point, Pigtail. And the perfect example is if you're in an area where there's only 10 loads but 20 trucks, it doesn't matter how much of a schmoozer you are, the rate's the rate. And so now you got to strategize, okay, how do I get out of here with the best rate? And it usually involves going to another area that's not that great. That's usually, like for example, if you're coming out of Phoenix, the best rate coming out of Phoenix is going up to Denver or going to Miami. Or up to the Pacific Northwest. But if you're going to do from Phoenix to Chicago, good luck. So being a pleasant person when you talk to someone on the phone. And look, I despise. I've literally hung up on brokers that answer the phone. Yeah. Like, yeah, is this so and so brokerage? Yeah. Well, okay. Good morning. I'm looking at your load, picking up blah 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 to blah blah. Yeah, it's a load of stupid products going to this. It picks up at 8, delivers at 3. We've got 900 on it. All right, thank you for your time. Click. I won't even deal with that because obviously the dude doesn't care. He hates his life. He hates his job. And he hates talking to truck drivers. And that's where you're seeing a lot of the emails now. That's where you see this email only stuff. But if I talk to someone and they answer the phone, so and so brokerage, oh yeah, good morning. I'm looking at your load picking up in so and so, going to so and so. Is that still available? And they're like, yeah, sure. It picks up at 8, delivers at 3. It's a load of palletized blah 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 products. and we're looking to move it for around 900. What's your rate? Or sometimes they'll make me set the anchor. Well, what rate are you looking to move it? Then I'll shoot high and see what the reaction is. Now, not ridiculously high, unless it's a ridiculous load. Well, it's got 4 stops, so we're looking at da da da. And now, knowing how to price multiple stops, that's a big one you got to go over, and maybe that will be a separate video, because I think a lot of drivers underprice multiple stop loads. That's where throw the 15-day average. That's where you got to really know your stuff. Throw that out the window. Throw the averages out the window. I've literally gotten $1,000 over the 15-day on a multi-stop load. Actually, more than that. There was a 2-stop load I got $1,000 more for. There was a 9-stop load I got way more than $1,000 for. But usually the brokers that are dealing with those multiple stops, they kind of have their act together. They don't put the inexperienced agents on those. Depends on market conditions. That's a big one. That's definitely a big one. So if I call and the person's pleasant, I'm like, and professional, then I am more likely to respond positively to this person. I don't sit there and, even if they shoot me a low, super low rate, and they're polite about it, like, oh yeah, my hands are tied, I can only do like $500. Hey, Orion's cool. Leave him alone. He's a good dude. I know him. And I will just say, hey, well, all right. Well, thanks for your time. Yeah, I can't take a loss on this because of the last load. So thank you for your time. If anything changes, please give me a call. Here's my number. So that method works too. I've literally had brokers call me back. Hey, my boss approved your rate. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do it. So there's 100 different ways, because think about it. If you're making 30 phone calls, that's 30 different people you're talking to. So if you're in a room of 30 people, you're talking to each person. Are they all going to be the same? Are they all going to react the same to your voice? Are they all going to react the same to your demeanor? No. Just like you're not going to react the same for each person. That's the challenge of the spot market and negotiating and sales in general, is that you're dealing with so many different personalities. So you got to be kind of a people reader. Because I'm telling you, if you depend on the click and goes only, when they dry up, and they do dry up, you're left with nothing. And I know a person that did nothing but click and goes for a year. And then once they started to dry up, he had no idea how to negotiate with brokers, even though he's been in the spot for a year. So and do I use in my own truck, did I use a lot of click and goes? Absolutely. And thanks to Pigtail, it kind of helped me. Pigtail and the Dean were like, hey, let's try to get your negotiation skills up, because they both came from a sales background. Pigtail even gave me a spreadsheet for that, and I was making about 10 to 20% more. It's like, hey, this is kind of cool. And then Harold Huffman, God bless that dude, because he came in and he would put me on 3-way calls and show me how to negotiate. He dispatched me for a little bit to help me out, because I was having trouble adjusting. But then I also recognize the value of finding your 1, 2, or 3 brokers, like what Shannon has to do, and utilize them as much as you possibly can. I'm sure some brokers can make 100% on certain loads, but even the best brokers will take some losses on some loads. Right. Sometimes they post the incorrect rate and blame a fat finger just to get interest, e.g., example 10,000 really 1,000. Yes, I see that a lot because they're wanting that people that go straight to highest rate, right? Now, what's funny is when they do that on the book now price, you like click, hey, I saw that you had that load for $42,000. I'm interested. What do you got? Ryan being silly. CDN. Hate the game, not the player. Right? It could be a cat mouse game with robots and carrier. I often have to ask a carrier a lot of questions to get real info. If you're on this spot market, you must sharpen sales negotiation skills. And look, so that's important, CDM. But I'm going to add to that, and Stuart brings that point up. A lot of it's about timing. So you're also dealing with non-professional people as well. So there's that. There's a lot of brokers out there that don't realize what they've gotten into, don't realize what it takes to negotiate. And that's where you see a lot of these emails. This is the rate, take it or leave it. I don't care. I hate you. And you get that vibe from them. You're like, yeah, I don't care how much I schmooze or sales does. It's kind of like door to door sales. I did door to door sales when I was a kid. Like you wouldn't even do that nowadays. I remember this one dude opened the door. He had this cowboy hat on. He had a big white German Shepherd about yay tall. He looks at me and he points to me. He goes, "No," and then closed the door. I mean, there are some points where I'm just like, okay, and maybe a good salesperson would have gotten his foot in the door on that, but I saw the cues and I reacted accordingly. That dude was not interested in whatever I had to sell. But then one time this dude, answered the door and this pot smoke poured out, and I made a lot of sales on that dude because I took advantage of his inebriated state. So, you got to know when to take the opportunity. And I took an opportunity yesterday because this dude obviously made two mistakes. One, he told me that he didn't know his rate. And two, he told me that the load had to move regardless. That point, I'd already set the anchor. That's the only thing he did right. I think I set the anchor first, kind of. If he didn't count the load posting. But yeah, it is a lot about timing as well. So every time I caught an unprofessional broker, I would purposely waste their time on board, sleep in a truck. you are no, you aren't nobody. Impossible for a broker to get 100% of load. That means you would only get 0%. Hashtag math. uh, yep, I do lots of. Yep, it do lots of folks good to read or reread How to Win Friends and Influence People. TL Stock, absolutely. I've when I first started to read that book, I was like, man, this thing's 100 years old, literally. He's talking about stuff that happened 100 years ago, but the principles are still the same. And it's tried and true. It's not like these you go to Barnes and Noble and there's this whole self help you know BS that's actually just selling a website or a product. I was bored yesterday. I had to take the cat to the vet again, and I was looking at Google Play Books, downloading a bunch of free stuff. I'm like, I'll just download this, look at this while I wait. It's better than Facebook. And that not high quality stuff. You get what you pay for. Didn't state it well. Shipper says pays 2,000, broker gets it covered for 1,000 by a carrier, broker makes $1,000. 100% over cost to ship for broker. There you go. You can't take anything personally in the spot market. It's all survival of the fittest. It's business at the end of the day, and that's so when a broker says that's all I got in it, that they're playing on your emotions. Now you could be the a-hole and go, well, I guess you didn't quote it correctly then. Or if you go, well, maybe give up some of your commission and give me money. Well, that's not going to work either. Being able to read people, and that's why Jeff has put me in the position that I'm in, because I can read people. If we talk to a potential driver on the phone, I can read the person fairly decent. I look for little cues. I look for little, you know, because sometimes people talk too much and they tell me a little bit too much. And that's why you might find a broker that's very short, as far as, on sentences, because they know that if they talk too much, just like the guy that I got a load from yesterday, he said too much. And boom, I saw that window and dove right in. And again, that's why a lot of brokers go to email only. I literally had emails, product, times, rate, firm. That's it. there's no, and so I'll reply, well, who's the receiving customer? If the rate's decent. But if that firm rate is no good, then I at least send them an email. Thank you for your time. This will not work. I don't tell them why. I don't tell them it's because the rate's crap. I'll tell them, yeah, this won't work. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your reply. Because a lot of times, how many times have you emailed a broker and there's no reply? I was dealing with that yesterday. Yesterday was weird. It freaked me out a little bit. The first 10 calls I made, I was either put on hold for 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, which 5 minutes is my limit. Or unless I'm doing something, then I'll just let it play. But then the broker also knows that if you're going to stay on hold for a load for 10 minutes, you're desperate, right? That would be the impression I would get. So I don't play the whole game for very long. Or I would email them and not get a response back. So some days are just like that. But man, yesterday it was freaking me out. I was like, is nobody working yet? Thanksgiving's over. Bill, what's up? Do you think them principles change considering the way we communicate is different from 100 years ago? No, because it's very universal, Stuart. You just have to read the book. I mean, because it talks about the psychology. I mean, yeah, there are sales tactics, but like for example, one of the things that it tells, like he tells of a story about a car dealer, and he would, this car dealer had a notebook on him, and I started to do this. I've gotten away from it recently, but I started to do this at the time because I'm horrible with names to faces, especially when I was playing in the band. People like, hey, Steve, dude, you guys rock, man. Last night, I'd see him in the grocery store and, all right, thanks. You, because I don't remember the dude's name. He goes, dude, it's Bill, man. It's Bill. And I do that at truck shows as well. So I apologize because I have a horrible memory. But what he talks about, what Dale Carnegie talks about in that book, is he would have sales guys have a notebook. And so when a guy came to look at a car, he's like, hey, man, what's up? Oh, yeah, it's Wheel and Dale. Yeah. And he would get them talking about themselves, get the person talking about, you got kids? Yeah, I've got 3. Oh, cool. And then people will volunteer. Yeah, I've got 3 kids. I got one that's 2. He's terrible 2s, and I got one that's 5, but I got another one that's 10. Oh wow, are they looking for a car? That kind of thing. And then when the guy's not looking, he'll write down the names and all these details. So when that guy comes back, he's like, he looks at the notebook and he's like, hey Bill, what's up, man? How are the kids doing? Is little Sally doing pretty good right now? I know that you were struggling with something. I mean, and that personalization, being personal like that, got these people to sales. So those principles are still the same. I mean, they teach Dale Carnegie courses to this day. The lingo is just different. The methods are just different because the methods of, now it's online. CDN has sent me a lot of sales stuff, like podcasts, and the success that he has and the language that they use, that kind of thing. And so the term we is huge. If you're a one truck operation, I'm gonna give you guys some free advice, okay? Feel free to cash at me or throw me a super chat if you want. But here's something to do. If you have an email, and DIY talked about this, create a signature and put a picture of your truck. Put a small picture of your truck in the signature. Take a beautiful picture of your truck. Now, I have a one truck authority that I dispatch for. He has 2 trucks and 2 trailers. We made it look like he's got 4. We did the 2 different combinations of trucks and trailers because they're 2 different types of trailers. And that's his signature. And then we put 100% owner operator company servicing 48 states. Makes us sound like we're a big deal. Right? So they know that they're not. Now, it's still a Gmail address. Okay. I don't have that part down yet. But here's the thing. If your carrier will give you, like, I think I do have, I think Jeff does at times pass out, your truck number plus, at like trucking.com or whatever. And so if you can set that up with the carrier, that's fine. But if you're a one truck show, get a website so you can have an email. But let's say you don't. Let's say you're not into that area, right? So you got a Gmail. You can still do the professional signature. Pick a beautiful picture of your truck. The best one, like the one that's usually behind me on the screen, that's straight from the truck wash. Like that's literally in the driveway of Blue Beacon that I took that picture. And then I adjusted it with a Snapseed, I think, filter. But what that does is that makes you look professional. It makes you stand out from these any meet and seat carriers that have been trashing everything. And so if the person has a very cheap rate and is only looking for the cheap truck, guess what? They're not even going to mess with you. They're not even going to waste your time because they know that they're wasting your time. Image is everything. And so now, when you're making 20 phone calls and you got 4 trucks to book, you can't sit there and ask the person's, life story on each phone call. I get that. So you become kind of systematic. But so you have to have a formula. Just like sales, cold sales from the phone, from telemarketers, they have a speech laid out right there in front of them. You can do the same thing. And it's how you present yourself. It is no coincidence that the majority of the people that you see on YouTube, majority of the people that you see on Facebook that are bitching about brokers are the ones that couldn't talk themselves out of a wet paper bag, or they got the personality of this notebook, right? They got a personality of a gnat. But the Click and Goes saw that weakness and said, "Hey, we'll make that work." And so when a Click and Go analytics system sees that you're using nothing but their platform, guess what? You lose your negotiating power, and they're going to see how low you'll go. Jamie Hunt, sorry, is notorious for that. Just booked a load from Miami to Jacksonville. So far, well, there you go. You're doing the short hop strategy that we talked about yesterday. Good on you, Shannon. You're going to get a much better rate out of Jacksonville than you would out of Miami on a longer run. Nobody should be in truck unless they bought and sold stuff at a swap meet and had fun doing it. That's what I did on my summers when I was driving a school bus. I love that. That was, man, if that was damn eBay and the internet, ruin that. $1,000 profit is their brokerage, but if the agent booked on 60% is getting $600, brokerage gets $400. Same for carrier. It is split with driver, owner, operator. Logistics profit gets diluted fast. David Edwards, good morning. There is no Jacksonville, Missouri. There's a Jackson, Missouri. Steve in chat, sorry I'm late. I was in a Zoom to my mom. Well, I hope she's doing well. DIY with the tip. Thank you. Thank you. Come on with it. Thank you, DIY. I appreciate you. 100% image is everything. I tell people, think of your image of a lawyer, now think of a plumber. Well, I mean, that's why I don't send them pictures of me. They're like, wow, this metalhead bearded dude's hauling my load. Yeah, I don't think so. But the truck is good. Look, if and you want them to know that you don't have this rattle trap hauling their high dollar freight. It shows that you care, right? Just like if you talk to a broker that doesn't care, they don't want to talk to a driver that doesn't care. CDN agrees with me. And he's a broker, so he would know. The fundamentals of negotiating haven't changed, just like batting fundamentals in base are static. The physics of a stick hitting a ball are just that. Best time to deepen a relationship with the broker is as soon as you deliver. You can call them. They want your POD, so they will talk. That's when you find out their favorite sports team, drink, etc. This Truck and Life, good morning. Some people sell courses, re-imaging negotiations, but they really just restated how to win friends. Yeah, it is the grandfather of negotiating. And it's not even about negotiating. It's just being a pleasant person. He also used the example of when a cop pulled him over and he admitted that he had done wrong and the cop let him go because of that. So that's those principles are still the same. Stuart, I would recommend it. Look, it could be a hard listen, but if you're doing audiobooks, I would recommend it. I'm sure you can find it free somewhere. It's probably on YouTube somewhere for free because it's an older book. So ain't nobody worried about their royalties or whatever. Starbucks Now, thanks to DIY. Yep, Truckers Education Network, Jeffrey Like. Oh, Pigtail with the $10. Thank you. Cup of coffee on the Pigtail. Thank you. Get some of that Dunkin' Donuts there at Sat Brothers. The 122 people in Jacksonville, Missouri hate you. Is there a Jacksonville, Missouri? That's funny. Always be closed in trucking. It's a racket, right? Late to the party. I'll be part of the replay gang for the first hour. Good deal. I got your email. Message received. We'll see what happens. I'm sure. I'm assuming everything was picked up and delivered on time there. I know what assume means. But anyways, I thought I'd go over that because look, I'm learning a lot of things. And I'm still learning. Always want to still be learning. The day that you know everything, just go somewhere else then. It's a constantly changing and fluid world. Be like water, like what Bruce Lee says. So, okay, good deal. Good deal. Good deal. All right. 53 Drive-In, Jacksonville, Missouri. Okay, we can do that. Hold on. All right. All right, we'll share the screen here. All right, so we're on the 123 low board 48065. If you're interested in trying it out for free for 30 days, and then a cool discount afterwards, 48065. All right, Jacksonville, Missouri. So Jacksonville. Oh, Sterling. Look at you. Look at Sterling going. Steve is an idiot. All right. We'll do it for today, or no, today's the 30th. Tomorrow and Friday. Search. I'll be 181 loads. Liberty. Okay, so it must be around northern Missouri. So let's click. Let's see where. Let's do smallest deadhead. Yeah, you're deadheading at least 110. Well, here's 102. Oh wait, no, I've done this wrong. Hold on. Doink. How do you get it to the lowest deadhead? Oh, here we go. Sort by deadhead miles. There we go. I'm dumb. Okay, Glasgow, Missouri, 32 miles away, going to Traverse City, Michigan. That's a good load. So let's see where. Yeah, it's northern Missouri. Okay, is where Jacksonville is. Okay. All right, this one's Glasgow, Missouri to picking up Friday, going to Traverse City, Michigan. It is 696 miles, so a good weekend run with the 34 in there. And it's light. Looks like no, it's 40,000. Never mind, I was looking at the wrong number. It's got the name of the broker. It's like trends are down a little bit. And out of Traverse City, there's 39 loads. So what part of Michigan is that? That's up there north. So you might look at the weather before you grab that one, if the weather scares you. There's no one Columbia to Memphis. That's an easy run, straight down 70. Take the outer loop, St. Louis, and go straight down 55. Picks up at noon Friday. Delivers Saturday at 4 a.m. That's not bad. If you can get out of Memphis on a Saturday. So you would look at, okay, so how many loads are coming out? It's like there's 64 loads. So yeah. So there you go, Sterling. There's your Jacksonville, Missouri. To the 122 people in Jacksonville, Missouri, I apologize. 47 miles north of Columbia, Missouri, home of Jacksonville, Missouri on 63 Highway. So I've probably been through Jacksonville, just didn't realize it. I'm finding it very hard to find a lease purchase that makes sense, although found one, but might have messed up. Shaking my head, the newer truck comes later. Lease purchases are very challenging, especially in this climate, especially if you're going to run the spot market. That is the reality. And you have to read the contract. Because there's a couple of good deals out there, but it's like looking through that bargain bin at Walmart. There might be one good DVD in there you might want, but the rest of it's crap. And you got to have the patience to sort through all of it. And that's the thing with lease purchase. That's another blanket statement. All lease purchases are crap. No, they're not. But the majority are designed to take advantage of the driver. So you have to be very careful. The day you know everything, you realize you're British. That's good. That's good, Britt. You made me laugh this morning. And Shannon. And Pigtail. Good morning, Dennis. I hate that I know every Jacksonville. You will be deadheading out of Traverse City more than likely. See, Mr. Charles knows Michigan. So when I go to Michigan, I tend to either go Battle Creek area or Detroit area. Do not go to the UP. You might see Jeff snowmobiling up there, but other than that, that's it. If the railroad strike, truck and chain's going to make big money, we'll see. We'll see. Too many towns named Farmington in the U.S. Yes, I know where Farmington, Missouri is. Farmington, New Mexico. Jeff says you won't. So we got two Michiganders that don't agree. Get a load from Shorts Brewery out of Traverse City. I noticed that. Yeah, so the beer thing. Oh, let me guys let me show you something. And so some brokers have so I called on a couple of loads that were going to different places, and it was beer, right? And there's some states I highly suggest the Convoy beer permit list. It's accurate. Let's see if I can find this. I'm going to share this. Gmail. I'm going to share this. I thought this was hilarious. And I don't want to just show you the screen. So let me get the email up here. It unfortunately, I would have done this load because he actually liked the price I had, but as soon as he told me the times, it was no good. Because he set the acre first. It was actually I think I can get them up, but it was there it is. All right. So this is how they posted a load of beer. Refreshing beer. I thought that was hilarious. And see, and here's the smart thing about that though. So I called this broker. Obviously, I've got it read out because maybe they don't want their name all over the place. And I was like, hey, I'm looking at your load. What was this? Picking up St. Louis, going to Joplin. Now that 15 days, no bueno on a daily rate, especially for that one. So I was like, he's like, I said, and I really like how you describe the refreshing beer. And he's like, yeah, I thought drivers would get a kick out of that because a lot of brokers don't post that it's beer and they get frustrated. So I'll put refreshing beer. And and the only thing that didn't work with this load was the times. So because we didn't even, I don't think we even got to the rate. I made so many phone calls yesterday, but I thought this was cool. It stood out. It made me right away. I said, this guy has a sense of humor. And so I capitalized on that, or I tried to, but Steve, maybe pull up a calendar screen and remind everyone that's only 3 weeks left to make money in 2022. Well, we'll just tell them you got 3 weeks. 2022 is done. Christmas is almost here. No beer permit needed for Michigan. They have loads to Kalamazoo every day. There you go. Jeff, there's obviously too much beer drinking going on in Kalamazoo. Or 97 Mile Deadhead to Stanwood. See, when Jeff goes live and he looks at the 123 low board, look on how he manipulates the low board. That's his talent. That's one of his talents. Is that he did that with the Schneider. A Schneider guy call him. He was overwhelming you with all this information because just on the way he looks at a load board, and so that's so he just looks at things differently. Drink more beer. Yes, drink more beer so we can have more loads. When analyzing the rate with all aspects of the load, how do you determine the weight of the load in the regards to fuel consumption? Well, if there's some, I use it as negotiating power, but at the same time, it can be used against you. Um, I've had brokers say, "Well, I've got this low rate because it's only 5,000 pounds." Well, okay, but at the same time, I have gone, "Well, that's 45,000 pounds going up to Pennsylvania. I'm going to need X amount." But see, I wouldn't even pick that load. If it's any port in a storm, like if a driver specifically needs to go from one place to a specific other place, weight is thrown out the window. And I try to negotiate a higher rate because of the weight. But see, here's the thing, and this comes up a lot. So if you go to, how many of you have picked up a load that was supposed to be 44,000 pounds and it's only 10? Do you call the broker back? Hey, my bad. I'm going to give you some money back. No. So a lot of times the weight will factor in the cost. And so what happens, TBT, is I'll be more firm. I won't be as lenient. I won't be likely more to go down on a heavier load. Like there's these loads that come out of Maida, Missouri. It's dog food, and the road to get in there is stupid. I don't even think there's lines on some of the roads, and it's in a big pit. So you go down this big hill and you go up this big hill to get out. There's not even a phone signal down there for most part, and those loads have never paid good enough for me to even consider them. I almost did one once, but then my truck gave a check engine light and I had to cancel it because it was a decent rate. But most of the time I see made ups, I just keep moving. Now it's good to do heavy loads, but I want to do. My problem with heavy loads is this, and this is my only issue with it, is if it's 22 pallets of the same product like water, Pepsi, Coke, whatever, then I have no problem with it because I can put the trailer wheels in the sweet spot. I'm going to balance it out, no problem. But it's the mixed product that you have to really watch it on the heavier stuff. And but as far as pricing, but yeah, weight of the load will definitely. So if you take a 45,000 pound load from St. Louis to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, yeah, your fuel mileage is going to suck. Even on a higher on a newer higher truck, you're not going to get as good as say 20,000 pounds going from St. Louis to Columbus, Ohio. And that's one of the saving graces of Florida is that it's all flat. So weight doesn't really matter as much. You can still get good mileage as long as your foot's out of it, you know. The biggest challenge with Florida besides the rates is staying awake. Yes, that's what I was thinking. The deadhead to Stanwood. In Alberta, reefer carriers with frozen loads can save reefer fuel. It is 2 degrees, but feels like 15 negative with wind chill here where I live. So Shannon says I figure 7 mile per gallon, and so that's so go back to TBT's question. That's a good point, Shannon. Thank you. I look at everything with 6 miles per gallon fuel. So if a load's paying $1,000, but it looks like I'm gonna spend 600 in fuel, I may not do that load, right? I figure out 6 miles to the gallon on all miles, and that usually covers the differences, right? Because you never know. Look, Jeff once had me bobtail all the way to Abilene, Texas to get a trailer. And you know what? I got like 8.2 on that, even though my foot was out of it and I was bobtailing. But why? Because of the wind. And then I thought, well, I'm going to get a nice tailwind coming back with the empty trailer. Nope. I got a headwind that way too. And so I always go the lower 6 miles per gallon, $5 a gallon fuel, depending on where I'm at in the country. 550, and I estimate my time, and and then time is a big part of it too. So I estimate everything. It's a calculation that's hard to explain that I literally do in seconds in my head. So I figure 6 because you're not always going to get 7, you're not always going to get 8, but you're not always going to get 5. I also notice when they state 44K, 9 times out of 10, it's never that heavy in my experience. Right. Sometimes it's a generic weight. You're welcome. Driving a Pro Star will make you look at low board different, really bouncy. Yeah, but you're also dealing with spring ride trailers as well, Sean. That's a big part of it too. Steve, heading to Overland Park this weekend from Denver for my son's soccer journey. How far is that from you? Overland Park's about 170 miles from Springfield. That's basically a suburb of Kansas City. You're right off of 70. So, or no. I'm sorry, 435 West. You're right off of 435 West. Thumbs up for being a badass. Thank you, Orion. I built a nice little spar cheat tool. Help me figure all that quickly. And look, 123 Lowboard's got that. You scared the crap out of me. Yes.
Don't be scared. It's just coffee.
This is my wife sneaking up on me. My wife's awesome. She just brought me coffee. So let's so pick a load, any load. You have your profit calculator right here. It gives you the tools. You can put in your estimated fuel cost. You can put in your 6 miles per gallon at 478 a gallon. You can change that. And then you can put in your additional costs, toll costs, dispatch fee. So if you're at, like, for me, it's 20% because, I'm an 80-20 guy. And then you can throw in your other fees. And it'll literally give you a toll calculator. So this should be profiting if you do it for the average rate, which you should get above that. $1.30 a mile at $404. So is that worth it to you for the day? Right. So, but that's your net. So I mean, it has all. That's the great thing. That's why I tell everybody I recommend 2 low boards if you're new to the spot market. One is the 123. It helps you with all these calculations. And then the DAT board, of course, because of the volume. So, but that's the most impressive thing, and it has your credit checks right there. So 98, 30 days to pay for Thunder Funding. They're a little bit later on the pay, but they still got an A rating. But yeah, you can do the fuel cost right there. You can adjust that however you want. So if you got a Peterbilt with a hood, you can put in 5 miles per gallon. And if you've got one of them brand new T680 next generation trucks, you can put in 7 or 8. Or if it's a light load, you can put in 8. I mean, but I do that on the fly, like right there. And so when a driver asks me to dispatch for them, like, what's your fuel mileage? I'll ask them what their fuel mileage is. What's their IFTA averaging? Don't go by the gauge on the gauge there, because that changes with each load. CN says trade math is where it's at. This is Snorelord Ghosty. Mrs. Snorelord, then she did. She's surprised. I got the headphones on. That's why. So she was able to sneak up on me. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get off here. I hope this has been informative. If anything, I hope you got like, oh man, this dude does not know what he's talking about. Because a lot of things I don't know what I'm talking about. But I appreciate the super chats you guys did. If you're interested in coming to Like Trucking, we've got a couple empty trailers. Go to liketrucking.com. Jeff, if you're watching, you can put the link in the description in the chat. And if you're interested in some services, rigrunnerlogistics.com. You can find out what we're about there. It's a tough world out there, whether it's a good market or a bad market. Right now, the market's it's pretty low, but it's still manageable. And fuel's going down. Fuel discounts are going down quite a bit. So, fuel discounts are coming up. There was a couple of places that we were getting $1.50, $1.60 off a gallon. So, having a good fuel card is key in this environment. It should have been key in the first place. That's the thing about a tight market, guys, or a loose market, is that you want to run efficiently regardless of the market. So when times get tough and thin, you can survive it. If you're as efficient as possible all the time, it's just another day in the life of. And that's kind of how I look at that. So, Master Snowlord, these are not the rates you're looking for. So, T-Bone, what's up? You're late. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Until next time, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Peace.